Mom sent packages for 21 years. I didn't understand why until the day she asked me one question on her hospital bed. Folded in a box I can't open without my throat closing are the sweaters she knitted after I moved my daughter 5,000 miles away. Tiny cardigans with pearl buttons, little hats with pompoms. I thought they were gifts. Now I see it. They were part of a plan, crafted out of love and fear. What would you do if you thought your granddaughter would forget you? My mother found an answer. I'm Miriam. Today I am sharing with you my own story. It's about the hardest conversation I ever had with my parents, the one that shattered their heart, the distance that followed, and what my mother did, quietly, persistently, to make sure she would never be forgotten. Let me take you back. Picture this. I am in my early 30s, living in France, where I grew up. My daughter Emma had just turned 3, all curly hair and big questions, and a laugh that made my parents forget everything else in the world. My mother Colette lived for Emma's visits. She didn't just prepare, she orchestrated her visits. Special meals, special gifts, special everything, with always something she'd made by hand. A little dress she'd sewn, and of course, a matching one for Emma's favorite doll. She would present them to Emma like treasures, watching her face as she unwrapped them. My father, Henri, loved quietly. I would catch him watching Emma play with butterflies in the garden, or holding her with tenderness and utter admiration. He simply and selflessly adored her. They weren't just grandparents, they were her world, and she was theirs. But I had plans for our life that would shatter that peaceful flow. A new life. A new beginning across the Atlantic Ocean, in America. How can I bring this news to Emma's grandparents without breaking their heart? Yet, how can I forget my own dreams and aspirations? Gathering all my strength, the day came when I knew I could not postpone the discussion. On a sunny spring afternoon in their kitchen, knowing there would never be the right time, I decided to tell them. At the same table where I did homework as a child, drank hot cocoa after school, where we celebrated birthdays, where my mother had taught me to fold napkins, and my father had read his newspaper every morning for 40 years. I said, I have something to tell you. My mother stopped what she was doing. My father looked up. Emma and I are moving. Not in another town, or even another country, but across an ocean, 5,000 miles away. Silence. Tears. No scream, no explosion, just stillness. But not the peaceful kind. The kind that presses on your chest so hard you cannot breathe. And then everything happened at once. My mother's face shifted through 100 emotions: shock, confusion, something that looked like betrayal. But here is what haunts me to this day. She tried to smile and understand, but I knew she didn't. She couldn't. This trembling, forced smile was saying, I want to support you, while her heart said, please don't do this. America, she said softly. Why? That's so far. My father folded his newspaper slowly and set it aside. His hands were shaking. They asked questions. When? Where? For how long? But underneath every question was the one they couldn't ask. Why are you doing this to us? To her? Then Mom finally said, very quietly, almost to herself, but she won't remember us. She meant Emma, her cherished granddaughter. I told her that was ridiculous. Of course Emma would remember them. We'd visit, we'd call. But I saw the fear in her eyes, and I looked away. The day I left, my mother held Emma for a long time. She whispered something in her ear. I never found out what she said. My father hugged me quickly, too quickly, and only said, call when you land. And then I was gone. The first package arrived 3 weeks after we landed. Brown paper, French stamps. My mother's handwriting note, neat, careful, perfect. Inside, a hand-knitted sweater in Emma's favorite color. A little note that said simply, Pour ma petite Emma, je t'aime. For my little Emma, I love you. Emma squealed when she saw it. I took a photo and sent it to my mother. She called me crying. That was the first of many. Every Easter, every Christmas, every birthday, the packages came. Sweaters, hats, little dresses, children's books, toys, animal figurines to build up a collection, stuffed animals she'd sewn herself, French chocolates wrapped in themed tissue paper, books she had saved from my childhood. Each package was a bridge across the ocean. Each one said what she couldn't say on the phone. I'm still here. I still love her. Please don't let her forget me. As the years passed, I started to notice things. The handwriting on the labels got shaky. The sweaters got simpler, fewer complicated patterns. Emma was growing up. Her anticipation had subsided. And then, one Christmas, the package didn't come. She called to apologize. Her hands, she said, they weren't cooperating anymore. She couldn't finish the sweater in time. I'll send it later, she promised. She never did. It wasn't about the sweater. It was about what it meant. She had spent years reaching across an ocean with her hands, and now her hands couldn't reach anymore. The years kept passing. Emma grew up American. Her French faded. My parents came when they could, but the trips got harder. We talked on video calls, my mother always asking to see Emma, always waving, always saying, Je t'aime, ma chérie, before hanging up. Eventually, the calls got shorter. In fact, the silences lingered. We talked about the weather, the doctor's schedules, Dad's shingles, and how he was suffering in silence. We never talked about the ache. And then Mum got sick. I flew back, sat by her bed, held her hands, those hands that had knitted all those sweaters, wrapped all those packages, written all those loving notes. Her skin felt so thin, so fragile. We talked, we listened, we tried, we really tried. But there were things I couldn't say, words I never spoke, like, I'm sorry I took Emma so far away from you. I am sorry I pretended the distance would not matter. I'm sorry I missed so many Sunday dinners. I'm sorry I didn't understand what you were really doing all those years. And there were things she never said. But one afternoon, she looked at me with clear eyes and asked, Does Emma still have the sweaters and the animal figurines? I said yes, she does. And that was true. Then she smiled, really smiled. Wiping a tear rolling down her cheek, she said, Good, then she'll remember me. Mom passed away 4 years ago, and I finally understand what she was doing all those years. Every sweater, every package, every note. It wasn't just about staying connected. It was about staying alive in Emma's memory. She was terrified of being forgotten. And she fought that fear the only way she knew how, stitch by stitch, package by package, year after year. I think about my mother's hands often, how they never stopped making memories, never stopped reaching out to her granddaughter 5,000 miles away. I wish I had recorded her telling stories about her own childhood, so Emma could hear her voice whenever she wanted. I wish I had found more ways to close the gap. Not just with visits and calls, but with the small, tangible things that say, you matter, you are remembered, you are loved. My mother didn't wait for me to figure this out. She just kept sending sweaters. And now Emma has a box of them, and so many pictures of herself wearing those sweaters. Each is the proof that her grandmother loved her. Proof that an ocean was never wide enough to break that bond. Maybe you're listening to this and there's someone in your life doing what my mother did, reaching, again and again. In small ways you might not even notice. phone calls you let go to voicemail, gifts you haven't fully appreciated, questions you've brushed aside. They might not say it, but underneath is a quiet fear. Please don't forget about me. You don't need to move across an ocean to create distance, and you don't need a plane ticket to close it. Sometimes it just takes paying attention, asking one more question, recording one story, saying, I see what you're doing, and I love you for it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Your mind will find ways to make any moment imperfect. The perfect moment is when you gather the courage to speak up, record one story, ask one real question, say the sentence that matters out loud while the person can still hear it. If this story made you think of someone, a parent, a grandparent, someone whose hands are getting tired, whose mind is getting forgetful, whose body is getting weaker, maybe this is your sign. Reach out. Not next week, not when things calm down. Reach out today. Let's meet again next week for another life story. Until then, don't wait.